Welcome to another episode of Don't Call It Small. I'm your host, Natasha Foreman. If you don't know me and you have no clue what this podcast is all about, let me share a bit. I'm the CEO of Foreman & Associates, LLC, where we provide consulting, business support, and professional development services. And Don't Call It Small is where we talk all things business, share tips and news that you can use, and highlight the people and ideas behind the products and services that we buy. To learn more about my company and our team, please visit foremanllc.com. Woo! Hello, everyone. I hope that you had a super awesome Thanksgiving. I did. I went to Nashville. I had a relaxing 4 days there, having tons of fun. It was my dog Bishop's first road trip ever. Yes, he's 8 years old and his first road trip, and he enjoyed every single second of it. So, do you know what today is? It's National Cookie Day. Oh yeah, chocolate chip cookies. Pretty please, pretty please. There are some other great things that I'm going to share with you guys today. For Frozen fans, all of you you love the animated film Frozen. Frozen 2 had a great weekend at the box office, over 124 million domestically. I haven't seen it yet, so please don't spoil it for me. I went to see the movie Knives Out on Saturday, and that was so good. I loved it. It has a great cast. It keeps you guessing. It was hilarious hearing audience members. They were blurting out comments throughout because the movie really draws you in. So I plan on seeing Frozen 2 hopefully this week. I know it's going to be great, because I love Frozen. So I know Frozen 2 is going to be great. Let's look at some other things that are going on in business. Today is supposed to be the big day for Viacom-CBS. Their merger is supposed to go through today. So bigger joining bigger. So we'll see how that goes. Something else, if you didn't know, Google and Alphabet, the founders they're going to be like parents. They're going to step away. They did an open letter to their team and then shared it, of course, publicly because, shareholders and everything. And it was amazing. I kind of got emotional reading it because now they're going to take a hands-off approach, just be there in an advisory role, serve on the board in other capacities. But that day-to-day operations, they're going to just leave in the capable hands of the current CEO over Google. So now he will be over both Google and Alphabet. So it is amazing. I think in a future episode, I will love to be able to really go and break down those dynamics and explore all the ways that Alphabet and Google are really trying to dominate in various markets. It's fascinating. But today, we're not talking about the world domination in business. What we're going to really be looking at is how we build our ecosystems and build our teams and the culture that best represents us and where we want to be and how we really want our team to see us and to experience us. There are a lot of companies out there that have different features, but they have lousy work environments, lousy ecosystems, right? The cultures are toxic. And so this episode is really dedicated to identifying how not to create those kind of cultures, how to come in and overhaul. And the best thing is to make sure you just don't create it. But if you happen to be in a toxic work environment or somehow you let it get out of hand and it's leaning towards there is hope for you. Before I get there, I want to switch hats really quick and look at the Midwest. There's some big news that are happening in Michigan and Illinois. The Midwest is embracing Mary Jane. And I don't mean the TV show that featured Gabrielle Union. No, I mean like Rick James kind of Mary Jane. Yeah, that Mary Jane. So starting January 1st, Michigan and Illinois, they're going to allow sales of marijuana. So they'll be joining 9 other states. Companies are, of course, rushing to complete renovations at dispensaries. They're hiring and training new staff, expanding their facilities. There's a limited number of businesses that have received state licenses, letting them sell recreational products initially, but they also have to make sure they keep enough inventory on hand for consumers who are certified patients under the medical marijuana laws. So all of you recreational pot users can't, gobble up all of the products. You have to leave some for those that are supposed to be taking it for their medical reasons. If you didn't know, Michigan voters legalized recreational marijuana last year. I had no clue. There are, of course, some limitations with the, of course, all emerging markets and industries, there's some limitations. And with this particular, big move, there's going to be, of course, wait time for growth, harvest, prep, and packaging. And then there's 1,800 cities, townships, and villages in Michigan. I had no clue. But more than 1,400 of those 1,800 locations aren't allowing for recreational businesses in that realm. So it's going to be a slow progress, but at least there's progress. Recreational sales in Detroit happens to... is interesting. They have the most dispensaries in the state, but their recreational sales are going to be delayed until January 31st. Illinois also has some hiccups in the early stages of this. So if you want to hear all about it, know all about it, if you are investing in that industry, or if you're just investing in your own personal use or whatever, visit apnews.com/marijuana. I'm curious now as to when these new laws and moves will also result in incarcerated people being released from jails and prison due to convictions tied to marijuana usage and possession of amounts, that didn't resemble the truckloads carried by Tony Montana's cartel. Remember Tony? So if we're seeing all these big moves commercially as far as for investment, and everyone's really, raking in the bucks. But what is it doing to impact those people that were incarcerated for carrying a dime sack, a nickel sack, or whatever, right? Somebody who happened to be smoking on their own premises or whatever. How are we now going back to deal with those convictions? So I'm really interested in that. Everybody can't be making these big bucks, and folks are still locked up for these petty charges. So I've got some business news we're going to look at connected to industrial real estate and e-commerce. But before we get there, I want to go ahead and shout out some businesses. Because I know I'm going to get so intense in the conversation that I want to make sure I give them their shout outs now and not later. So have you guys heard of Peach Label Costume? It's an Atlanta-based costume rental company for film, TV, commercial, and music industries, and they feature vintage clothing and accessories from the 1950s through the 1990s for men, women, and children. It's kind of hard for me to hear about something being vintage, and it's from the eras in which I was born, like 1990s and 80s and 70s. Like those were my fun times. And it's now considered vintage. So who is the powerhouse behind this company? Well, it's the amazing Monica Ossobrook. Monica has more than 10 years industry experience. She offers in-house alterations, delivery and pickup options, on-site fitting support, and much more. I want you guys to contact Peach Label Costume at area code 678-856-7905. My girl Kenya Ware, I mentioned her in a previous episode, and she is a costumer both in California and Georgia. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kenya had done business with Peach Label Costume. I'm going to try to make this connection because you never know when Kenya's going to be on site here in this Peach State. Maybe we can have some love connection with those two businesses there. But you guys can contact Peach Label Costume at area code 678-856-7905. You can visit their website at peachlabelcostume.com. If you want to send an email, please do. You can email them at peachlabelatl@gmail.com. They're on Facebook and Instagram at Peach Label Costume. This is so awesome. Now, I have someone else I want to shout out. Clara Angelina Diaz. She reached out to me on Instagram. She's a speaker, the author of the book, Create Your Best Year. You can purchase a signed copy of her book for $18.99 from her website. I'll give you the deets on that shortly. She is a master coach who's willing to coach you or help you to become a coach. She's the founder of Clarifying LLC, which I love the play on the name, where she offers coaching, certification, training, courses, programs, workshops, and transformation retreats. She's accepting appointments now for her 2020 Vision and Clarity sessions, and she's leading a Pepper Lane Boost event at the Day 7 Wellness Studio. That's located at 294 Pleasant Street, though on the lower level. That's in Stoughton, Massachusetts. And that event is on Friday, December 13th from 12 to 1:30 p.m. That's Eastern Time. Tickets are available for $25 on Eventbrite. Boost events are 90-minute facilitated opportunities for mompreneurs who would like to bring their business to the next level. They keep the event relatively small, so you can expect about 9 or 10 other attendees. They'd like to have more of an intimate setting. If you're in or near the Stoughton, Massachusetts area, or you're a mom or mom supporter, running or growing independent business, you have a business idea, but you're not sure where to start. You're looking for a safe and supportive space to ask questions and get honest feedback about your business in a loving way. And you're super excited to help others succeed by sharing your own feedback and connections, then you should strongly consider attending this event led by Clara Angelina Diaz. I want you to contact Clara for coaching or any other services that she provides. Her phone number is area code 617-378-7355. You can also email her at clara@claraangelinadiaz.com. That's CLARAANGELINADIAZ.com. I'll have her information on our blog and our social media. Her website is her full name spelled out, claraangelinadiaz.com. She's on Instagram at Clara Angelina Diaz. On Twitter, she's Clara Angelina and the letter D. Facebook, it's clara.a.diaz. And then, of course, you can find her on LinkedIn at Clara Angelina Diaz. So there you go. Don't forget about the event. It's on December 13th at the Day 7 Wellness Studio. All right. Now, for those of you who are planning a wedding or you need a photographer for your engagement or wedding photos, then please consider contacting Photography by Tasha Rose. They are a Utah-based photography team that shoots in and around Utah. And guess what? They also love to travel to you. Yes, they've captured couples in California, Oregon, Washington, D.C., Maryland, and more. They'll even travel overseas. So contact them for pricing and availability. Their associate team happens to follow me on Instagram, and I wanted to make sure that I show their entire team some love. So contact them on Instagram at Photography by Tasha Rose. Their associates IG account is Associates of Tasha Rose. They're on Facebook. Simply look for Photography by Tasha Rose, and their website is, what is it? photographybytasharose.com. Now, I'm not just shouting them out because the name is Tasha and my name is Natasha. It's a great company. I love the photography. I spend a lot of time on their website. And so when you go there, if you're interested, you want to book with them, tell them that you heard about their team by listening to the Don't Call a Small Business podcast. I don't get any credit for it. It's not like I get some discounts. Just want them to know when they're going to ask, how did you find out about us? Just tell them you heard them on the Don't Call It Small Business podcast. Now, if you are in the metro Atlanta area of Georgia, you need mobile car wash service, I want you to consider contacting Top Notch Car Care 2. Ask for Drew. The phone number is area code 424-264-3709. Tell him that you heard about his service on this podcast. I shouted out Drew a few months ago, but now he's offering mobile car wash service. So I had to double back and let folks know that now he can come to you. Again, give Drew a call, area code 424-264-3709. There's some other events I want to remind you about. Please don't forget to purchase your tickets to the Lunch and Learn event with Dr. Belinda Johnson-White. It's going to be Friday, December 5th. That's this Friday, folks. That's this Friday. That's Thursday. Is that Thursday, December 5th? That's tomorrow, right? Yeah. Oh my goodness. Do I have my dates wrong? Anyway, I just thought about that. At 11:30, it's at the Georgian Club. Be sure to check give me a second. I'm going to have to look on to make sure I got that right. I'm about to mess it all the way up, right? Because I'm like, is it December 5th or is it December 6th? We're going to see. Give me a second. But it's at 11:30 a.m. at the Georgian Club. Tickets are $16.95 and it includes a 2-course lunch. This Lunch and Learn will focus on rethinking authenticity, a leader's dilemma. It's an interactive workshop, so you're going to be challenged And you're going to really have to tap inside to embrace the collective power and spirit, soul, and body in the ways in which you can be a transformational leader of influence and service. That's how Belinda described it. So I'm going to get this date right. Oh, nope, it's Thursday, not Friday. It's Thursday. It's tomorrow, December 5th. I had Friday on my mind, so I'm glad I double checked. So it is Thursday, December 5th, 11:30 a.m. at the Jordan Club. To RSVP, please call area code 770-952-6000. Also, tickets. Remember, we had Billy Harris from the Vino Van LLC on, and we talked about her winemaking class. It's this Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Go to eventbrite.com to purchase your tickets. That same day, at the same time, the More Than Music, an all-white affair, is from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Patchwork Recording Studios. Remember, I shared that with you guys the other week. Tickets are still available on Eventbrite, but they're running out. So don't wait till the last minute because you cannot get tickets at the event. Then we have a couple weeks from now, December 15th, the Music Meets Business at the annual Music is Giving Foundation Scholarship and Recital Gala. It's going to be an evening of red carpet networking from 2 to 4. They have cocktails, entertainment, hors d'oeuvres, door prizes, and live music. The program begins at 4. It's going to be at the Entrepreneurship Complex, located at 3400 West Hospital Avenue in Atlanta. Visit musicisgiving.org for details. On the 19th, my friend Dr. Lula Bolton, she has a book signing and meet and greet from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Auburn Avenue Research Library. That's at 101 Auburn Avenue in Atlanta. You'll have the chance to meet Dr. Bolton and get her new book, Extraordinary Ministry in Ordinary Places, A Guide to Christian Community Development. She'll be able to sign that for you. All right, so changing hats. Are you guys ready to talk real estate investing? Specifically, we're going to look at industrial real estate investing, and then we'll tie in jobs and the economy. So Amazon's forced other retailers to, deal with their 1-day and 2-day shipping features, and they're able to do this because they've been building a strong network of warehouses near urban areas for direct shipment to consumers, which totally strays from the traditional way of having warehouses in rural areas and then having to transport those to stores. So warehouses near consumers cut out the brick and mortar stores. Yikes. First Walmart clobbers mom and pop, now Amazon. Is it surprising to hear that two huge companies have moved quickly up the logistics ladder by investing billions of dollars to expand their reach in what we have to assume would be e-commerce aligned real estate? Yeah. Prologis has acquired 107 million square feet of logistics space for $12.6 billion. Blackstone, if you don't know about Blackstone is a behemoth. They bought GLP's industrial warehouses for $18.7 billion and the warehouse unit of Colony Capital for $5.9 billion. Now, when you take these assets and you combine the acquisitions of Prologis and Blackstone, it totals 1.1 billion square feet of warehouse space. Yeah, you heard that right. 1.1 billion square feet of warehouse space in the United States. That's roughly 10% of the U.S. logistics footprint. And that's between two companies. They're not playing. Now, with warehouse acquisition comes automation and AI. And you may not know that warehouses are popping up everywhere. They're being reopened, however you want to look at it. And this signals the engagement of automation and AI, which will address speed and accuracy. And it means less breaks. Something the humans can't do, right? We have to give humans breaks. Currently, there's roughly 1.2 million workers in the U.S. that actually work in warehouses. However, efficiency is not consistently high and we're facing a tight labor market. So it's difficult to find workers, especially during the holidays. You know what we want to do during the holidays. So that's the reason why you're starting to see an influx of robots. They're stepping in to take over repetitive and physically demanding work. It's kind of twistedly funny to think and say this. I mean, while so many people are screaming, immigrants are taking our jobs, they need to be looking at how robots are taking their jobs and will increasingly take more of their jobs. especially during the holidays when so many of us want to be snuggled up with some hot cocoa, a blanket, and our family. While you choose not to work, robots don't have those kind of feelings and sentiments. They're working. They're taking your jobs. You're concerned about immigrants. You need to be concerned about robots. In 2018, there were less than 4,000 robotic warehouses. That number is projected to soar to over 50,000 by 2025. Yeah. That's according to ABI Research, which is a market foresight advisory firm that provides strategic guidance on transformative technology. You're probably wondering how many robots will be in those 50,000 warehouses. Well, it's expected to be over 4 million commercial robots. I wonder how many humans that eliminates from jobs. Just saying. Let's also factor in automated guided vehicles, which are AGV, and autonomous mobile robots. Goods-to-person systems can replace heavier mechanized automation that typically require rigid physical infrastructure and tons of upfront investment dollars. And then you look at AI, deep learning, and robotic mechanics, and the ways in which they can make it easy to perform traditionally harder to automate tasks. By combining the mobile robots, picking robots, and autonomous forklifts, fulfillment centers can achieve greater levels of automation in efficient and cost-effective ways. And guess what? It can reduce the number of injured human workers. Yeah, speaking of injured human workers, Amazon fulfillment workers at some of their locations have had serious injuries at a higher rate than the industry average. And there's an article that The Atlantic did. I'm going to share more about that in a little bit. Back to ABI, their research company published a report where they said that if mid-sized e-retailers are able to use advanced automation, it will position them to fight back the larger, more dominant players and bring fulfillment operations back in-house, which would disrupt the relationship between retailers and third-party logistics. So that could be a win for the mid-sized e-retailers. We'll see. Robots help to, and then I know we're like, oh, the humans, but we're going to look at the ways in which robots are beneficial. They enable warehouses to scale operations up or down as needed. It helps to reduce challenges that we customarily see with staffing and labor, and they also help with increasing efficiency, as I mentioned earlier. I read an article from the Los Angeles Business Journal about the acquisition and use of warehouses for office spaces, events, and living, and it made me think. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the big acquisition of warehouses is also being allocated for commercial office spaces, residential real estate, for both sales and rentals. And not just the mixed use, but like overall, like just doing major overhauls. Hackman Capital is overhauling the former Northrop Grumman complex in El Segundo. I remember always seeing that location, and they're overhauling it. Then we have, Carl Mulstein, the international director at Jones Lang LaSalle, said in an interview with the LA Business Journal that a lot of companies are turning to warehouses for less expensive alternatives to traditional office spaces. It also adds a cool factor and gives the building a new life and usage. A lot of startups are looking for non-traditional office space, and this is an absolutely amazing option. I read in the article, there's the chief executive of Super League Gaming Inc., Ann Hand. She's Super League Gaming is an esports company. She said that warehouses as workspaces feel more modern, progressive, and collaborative. And her company has a warehouse in Santa Monica, California. So I'm seeing that, we're always looking at this really industrial kind of concept, but imagine if you're using it for commercial use. It's amazing. Personally, I've always wanted to convert a warehouse to have that loft feel, a sense of openness and rawness that traditional vanilla high-rises just can't offer. And I am so determined to get a warehouse one day in the near future. Just wait. I'm telling you, when it happens, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, she said that December 4th, 2019 on her Don't Call It Small Business podcast. And I'm going to say, yes, I did. So, sharing all of this, how does a company reimagine a workforce and work environment, taking into consideration its future needs? Let's call these next steps that I'm about to share with you, and these next stages, building blocks. So the first building block we're going to look at is culture and how it starts with you. I'm going to give you some visuals. If bullying runs rampant through your company, we can almost it's like you can likely track it back. It's not difficult to track it back to your office door. If sexual harassment is prevalent, eyes will automatically start to dart and turn towards you as it's your company, and people behave based on the standards that you set. If workers are stealing from client accounts, it's hard to believe that management didn't know it was happening. And what happens when it does come to light? How are those employees disciplined? The corporate culture. Here's some other questions. I'm gonna share these. I have these questions for you. How do you want to be treated? Then you should treat your team accordingly. How do you want your customers to be treated? In the era of and there's been a long era of the customer's always right. How do you want your customers to be treated? Then you should treat your team the same way that you want your customers to be treated, and then place expectations on customers to treat your team accordingly. That's one thing that I loved about the founder of Southwest Airlines. He did not put the customer over his workers. He said the customer isn't always right. My workers make my business possible, right? Because I can have people that want to fly on my airlines, but if I don't have employees, I don't have customers, right? So he poured love into both. And that's how I see it. You create a mutually respectful relationship between you, your team, and your customers. It's a love cycle. That's what I look at. It's like just this big old circle, a big old hug. How you are, how you act, speak, think, your team will model that, whether it's positive or negative, healthy or toxic. So you need to look at that and understand that the culture, the corporate culture of your organization, how that ecosystem, the vibe, the energy, it all resonates from you. It comes from you. So if you're in a crappy mood, everyone else is going to be in a crappy mood. If you're a bully, then you're going to see bullying taking place. How you are, act, speak, think, your team is going to model. We are nothing but oversized children. It's all about role modeling. So surround yourself and build a team of people who are stronger where you are weaker, wiser and more courageous in areas where you're deficient. Kind of helps to build that framework, right? There's a quote I want to share with you from Patrick Lencioni. He said, remember, teamwork begins by building trust. And the only way to do that is to overcome our need for invulnerability. You need to be vulnerable with your team. Be transparent. It helps to build trust. So the next building block is, as I've shared with you guys week after week so many times, what is your why? What needs to be done to fulfill the mission? To fulfill your why you are starting this business, why you are in business, why have you been in business for 20, 40, 50 years? Your why. What needs to be done to fulfill that? What roles need to be filled on each level of your company? And at what phase in the plan, right? You have your strategic plan and your tactical plan. What phases? You have to look short-term, mid-range, and long-range and plan accordingly. Some people you need within the first 12 months, right? Others you may not need for a couple of years. Why hire someone now when you have no need for them for another 48 months? They're just taking up space and getting a paycheck. I mean, does that make sense? We don't just need a person there. So you have to take that in consideration. Then the next building block is when we look at operations. Do you recall in episode 19, we discussed the business support services your company needs? So who recruits, hires, and trains your workers? Who handles benefits, payroll, leave requests? Who handles bookkeeping and accounting? Who answers the phone and directs calls? Who greets your customers and vendors? Who handles customer service requests? Who's responsible for scheduling shifts of your workers? Who authorizes bonus checks and who cuts them? Who plans team building activities, events, parties? Who has the responsibility and the authority to reward and discipline workers? And then which workers can they reward and discipline? Who's responsible for ensuring the company is compliant with city, county, state, and federal regulations? Who handles your marketing for print, social media, TV, radio, outdoor, and online? Who do your vendors contact about orders that your company places and bills that are due or past due? Who's in charge for setting up vendor accounts for utility companies? If you have cell phones, computers, other equipment, office furniture, the list goes on and on. Who's in charge for those vendor accounts? When you're looking for new and additional office space, who will help you research and move forward with acquiring said space? You got to look at those things. There's other things, but I'm just giving you some of the chunks that so many people forget about. The next building block, when we look at management, what are the requirements to be a manager in your company? What previous and verifiable experience must they have? How will you test their management style to ensure that it's cohesive and complementary to your company's culture? Who will be responsible for training your managers so everyone is properly aligned? Remember, I mentioned to you guys, I forgot which episode, Harvard had done a study years ago that said on average, people have management positions for 10 years before they are formally trained to be managers. That means for 10 years on average, they are just winging it. They're just throwing gum on the wall and hope it sticks. And then at that point, at 10 years on average, that's when they get training on how to be a manager. Ew. So who's going to be responsible for training your managers so that everyone is all speaking the same lingo? The next building block, assessments. Will job assessments and evaluations be administered monthly or quarterly? I prefer both. And then also have a year-end look back at progress kind of thing. So we're going to do monthly, and I'm going to let you know, like, why would I wait until the quarter or wait till the end of the year to tell you about something you did right now or did, this month? You need that feedback, right? So, and then of course, at the end of the year, we can look back at your progress, and then we can also look forward into the next year, have outlook, right? How else will you gain and provide timely feedback on productivity and other measurable activity? I don't want to have an annual review and you want me to now have to recall something I did in March and it's December. That sucks. Like, what we should be talking about in December is all the progress that I made from each of those quarterly or monthly reviews, right? That's what we should be looking at. So the monthly reviews are the smaller ones. It's just hey, you did a great job, sales were up, or this was up, blah, blah, blah. And it's nothing really extensive. It's just a quick check-in kind of thing. Everything's good, right? Maybe I was out sick or injured or whatever, and so one of my months is off. And so then when we then do our quarterly review, it's now looking at a more comprehensive thing, but it's still not like, this big labor intensive kind of thing. A year end is just that boom. Like I said, we're looking back and we're saying, wow, look at the growth or lack thereof over the course of the year. This is how those monthly and quarterly reviews, those evaluations help to build up for when you're talking about bonuses and things of the sort. All workers should be evaluated in at least 3 or 4 of the following ways. And I'm share with you. Self-evaluations. They should be able to say what they think they accomplished, improved upon, could do better, or where they need help. There should be a manager to worker evaluation, which is what most of us are accustomed to. But let me elaborate on and let me really hone in on where it should be more refined. In this manager to worker evaluation, it would ask all of the same questions that the self-evaluation does. And it would also ask how the manager thinks that they can assist the worker. So it's going to allow the manager now also be able to reflect. And then there should be a worker to manager evaluation, which asks the worker how well the manager supports and leads them and follows up and so on and so forth. It can't just be that the manager gets to say in all the ways that worker does well or doesn't, and then there's no evaluation coming back to the manager on how well they do. And sadly, people are getting promotions and raises just because of the work of their team members, but it really is not a reflection upon them as the manager leader. So one great way is to have that evaluation as well. And then a fourth way is what is called peer-to-peer. And it's not prevalent in a lot of industries or in organizations, but it could be a very valuable feedback tool if given in a healthy work environment. This is a lousy tool in a unhealthy work environment, a toxic work environment. But in a healthy work environment, using this type of evaluation can help peers assess each other and state how they can help each other succeed. So if I look in the ways and I'm giving you great feedback on the ways in which there's strengths in your skills, and then I can say, and I can help you here in the areas where you're having problems. That's the peer-to-peer. Something else to look at, another layer or building block, is job audits. All right, here's another building block, and there's a reason why they're so important. They should be conducted annually, divided up by department or however you look at a division throughout the year to gauge how the job functions align with or deviate from the job descriptions. I don't know how many times I've seen job descriptions and the workload that's being done is like barely touching what the description says. And there's times that workers are performing duties that are drastically straying away from that job description. An audit helps to quickly identify and correct this. And they allow for realignment or total restructuring of job descriptions. They help with training and retraining of your workforce, right? They help to automate and eliminate processes and functions within your company. They help to assess which jobs and functions are needed. You never know which job could be replaced by AI to reduce costs and physical risks associated with human workers. It's just that simple. Now, earlier I mentioned reported injuries that have been investigated at Amazon. And The Atlantic published an article on November 25th. It was written by Will Evans. That was a collaboration with Reveal from the Center for Investigative Reporting. The article shares how Amazon has quotas for their warehouse workers to meet their on-time promise to customers. I mean, quotas are not uncommon in logistics and commerce. They're not. Sales is just not. What one worker interviewed said that she had a scan rate of 300 items an hour, which required her to scan a new item about every 11 seconds to hit her quota. And then workers' activity is tracked in real time with, the data sent through the proprietary software system that they call ADAPT. And if they fail to meet their target speed, they receive a write-up. If they don't improve, they're terminated. With this high quota reach, there was an increased number of injured workers in 2018. 23 of Amazon's 110 fulfillment centers had 9.6 serious injuries. I don't mean like someone just stubbed a toe. I mean serious, like people can't work kind of injuries. And they had 9.6 serious injuries per 100 full-time workers. The industry average is 4. And so this has been like a red flag for Amazon. This particular worker that was interviewed mentioned that she was seriously injured, unable to work, and Amazon's physician even stated, like, they verified, she can't work anymore. She was one of 422 injured workers at that location just last year. So Amazon's going to have to look at modifying the functions of how these jobs are performed to reduce the number and severity of injuries and their associated costs. They already use robots for certain tasks, and maybe they'll have to further utilize robots or alter the functions of certain line workers so that there's less heavy or frequent lifting of items. Now, looking at that example, in what ways can you simplify job functions and tasks in your own company? Because you may be doing things the hard way when you can actually find a way to streamline it, to simplify it, to automate it. How can you minimize risk associated with injury at your work? We're not thinking about it, but when you look at other examples, you can then say, now what can I do better? So now let's get back to our building blocks. The next building block 7, is build value within each job function. So when you look at your workforce, each worker makes a contribution. If the contribution is valuable, then it should be valued and the worker should know their value. You have to help workers see their why and how it plays a vital role in the company fulfilling its own why. When workers feel undervalued, they begin to disengage. And we all know what happens when you have disengaged and highly disengaged workers. Turnover time. Yeah, that means more money you're shelling out to replace those workers and train new ones. You don't want that. So help your workers understand their why. They want to know, why in the world am I here? Why am I working for this company? One of my HR students had done his final presentation on Netflix, and I had no clue. I thought Netflix would be like one of the best companies to work for. And it come to find out, Netflix, their turnover rate is so high and the corporate culture is so in the dumps. About 5 years ago, they laid off one of their executives who had actually helped not only build the culture, but she helped to expand their reach and their operations. And for some reason, I don't know the details. I got to do all the research myself to find out. They let her go, and she wrote a book, and she still was kind of in the dark as to why she's let go. But what has been realized is that with her departure, the culture went down. And so turnover is very high there. So Netflix is going to have to do something big, because when you have Disney and Hulu and all the other ones trying to gobble up that market share and take away from Netflix what it has worked for over 20 years to build, that means you'll also have workers that are going to jump ship and go to your competition. So that's something to always be mindful of. Here's a quote from Maddie Stepanek, and she said, "Unity is strength. When there is teamwork and collaboration, wonderful things can be achieved." That leads me to my next building block. Empower your team by giving them a voice. Gain their insight on matters that impact them directly and indirectly. If you know something can impact their productivity, their morale, or whatever, speak to them about it. Don't try to hide issues. That's the worst thing you can do. Share with your team what's going on. Transparency can help build trust and loyalty. When you hide the truth and your workers are later blindsided by it, your reputation, your character, it all goes down the drain. Just like the poo-poo drain. It just goes. Right with all the bad news. It just all goes down that drain. And it is hard to rebuild from that. So there is one way that you can be able to get some of their insight is to try something like SurveyMonkey or a similar platform. And you can then survey your workers, get feedback on topics and issues that you'd like, to gain their insight. Now, understand, if you have a toxic work environment, a lot of your workers are going to be terrified by doing a survey, and they're going to wonder if whether or not their feedback could be directly tied to them, if they're going to be punished for being honest about the ways in which you're falling short. So you're going to have to build trust in them understanding that these surveys are because you really do care about what they think and feel. Now, something else that you can do is make sure that you communicate frequently and candidly. And consider using like video and audio clips, using apps for communication needs, doing live online broadcasting through like a company-sponsored webinar. That way they get to see you, feel you, hear you in a sense, right? Sometimes some of you guys have remote workers and they're all around the world. It's very difficult for you to be hopping from country to country to, put hands on shoulders and shake hands. So this is one way that you can be able to do it. And then people have that moment of feeling like they're closer to you. Additionally, you then don't have to do an undercover boss thing because people then know who you are. If you have a presence, then there's no question of who you are. Speaking of undercover boss, I wanted to give you guys a heads up that I will be starting this month. I'm going to be aligning myself with different companies to do an undercover HR. Oh, what? Oh my. Yeah, stay tuned for details. I can't wait. All right. So, building block number 9, recruit diversity. And let's be very clear. Diversity is just not color or just gender. You need to recruit people with personalities, backgrounds, educations, and experiences that are diverse and increase the probability of representing a significant sample of the potential customers you could have or you desire. Managers have a tendency of hiring candidates that are like them. The problem is that there's a lack of diversity, less push for change, and most likely a bunch of yes people, which can lead to favoritism and an undesirable work environment for everyone else. Can you see how all of these building blocks bring value not only professionally but personally? Yeah. You can use these same methods in your personal life. Imagine being intentional in how you connect with and build relationships with others. You can strengthen current relationships by just investing quality time. Asking how you could be more supportive and sharing what you would like from them is another way. And making the time to express your appreciation for them where they get to hear, see, and feel their value in your life and within that relationship. And it's not expressed solely during a holiday, birthday, or anniversary. Let me just be very clear. Some of you guys are really sloppy and lazy in this. It should be throughout the year, multiple times, sometimes multiple times during the day. Imagine being mindful of how you communicate with them, focusing on quality and quantity. As I say often, business and personal relationships are similar. If we approach the business world as we did our dating life, we wouldn't be so lackadaisical about it for the most part. Now, some of you may still have lackluster results. I mean, I'm just saying. Some of you have absolute disastrous dating histories and styles, right? So mimic the best. I want you to role model people that you see that have great dating patterns and engagements, right? But, the same can be true in reverse. Imagine giving your best effort in your romantic relationship as you do your career. Because some of you are married to your career. You're married to your business. And then your significant other is the side piece. They have to then fight for your time and attention. And that's not how it's supposed to be. Just like the systems and processes that we create and enforce in business, your personal life needs structure. You need to automate some things in your life to be more efficient with your time. Life is about relationships. We need to nurture them if we want to see them grow and be healthy. I mean, it's really that simple. So learn from people that do well, do it really well. And then just kind of replicate those steps. But if you have a disastrous business life, I can guarantee you that your personal life is right next to it or not far behind it. And the same is true in reverse. You're one person and you're in two environments. You're having two relationships. It's gonna happen. So you got to sit back and find ways to make it work. Now, you guys know what this is, right? It's that time again. Time to wrap up, go our separate ways. Until next week, I don't want to go, but it's time to go. We've got to go. It has been an absolute pleasure. If you have any questions or suggestions about the show, please email us. Don't call it smallbiz@gmail.com. I have a quote from Henry Ford. He said, "Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success." With that, be sure to check us out on Instagram and Facebook at Foreman and Associates, all spelled out. Don't forget the E in Foreman. And on Twitter at Foreman LLC. Be sure to also follow us and share us with your friends, colleagues, and family. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn at Natasha L. Foreman. Reach out to me. Say hello. Share your story. I look forward to meeting you. I mean, that's how I met Clara, and I was able to share her with you guys today. Don't forget that you can also text us. We have a text-only line. If you have questions or suggestions for this podcast, if you want to share your company anniversary or anything else, text us at area code 404-481-1849. If you call the number, you're not going to get an answer. I'm just telling you. I want to give a shout out, give some proper credit for our show theme song. It's called Higher Up, and it's by Shane Ivers. I want to thank you for tuning in to the Don't Call It Small Business podcast, for sharing these episodes with others, and for your continued support. Don't forget what I tell you on each and every episode. Don't call what you're planning, thinking, dreaming, or doing, little or small. Go big, go bold, or go nowhere. I'll see you here next week for episode 25 of Don't Call It Small, where I will be interviewing Tracy Wright, the founder of Black Diamond Edible Creations. You should remember her from episode 6 when I first highlighted her. Yes, it's that time to talk about sweetness and all the things that I love. Cakes, pies, my oh my, I can't wait. See you guys here next week. Have a super awesome day and week.